up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back after 1 week, but I didn't lie to you. This ain't the Positively Awesome Wrestling Show. It's the cast. It's our boy Nick, but it's not the Positively Awesome Show. It is just we're here to talk about CM Punk because that is the of the hour, the day, the week, the year. It's the person nobody can stop talking about. So we're gonna go ahead and join in on the fun because that's what we do. And just so everyone knows, everyone knows I'm the CM fanboy here, and I just love everything about him, and I want to hug him and all that. This wasn't even my idea. This man right here has been asking me, and I can't help myself. I'm going to talk about him anytime I get a chance to. So you can thank Albert for what you're about to get from here. He is the one to attack and blame and all that other stuff. He's the one
that you can argue with me
for the wrath that I am about to bring upon.
Bring all the heat on me. That's totally fine. I think we're in a position right now where the hottest story in pro wrestling is going over two different companies, but it's centered on one singular person.
Three.
If you want to get
New Japan Strong, they getting involved with the shit now too. Oh goodness, this never happened before. I don't think. Goats, man, goat.
But I mean, at this point, there's so much stuff to talk about, so much stuff to break down from the inception to where we are now and everything in between. I've got notes as well. I think we're at a point right now where let's just go crazy. Let's talk about it all. Let's air it all out. Let's get all of our frustrations for the stuff that we've been seeing on the internet for the past couple of weeks, past couple of days especially, out.
I'll say this. I don't have notes. I have everything in my head because I literally go through this stuff all the time. This is what I do. But I have a breakdown. I have we literally have a schedule that I'm going by tonight. That's how good tonight is gonna be. Not everywhere on the what you want to talk because this ain't the Cody Rhodes hour. This is a struck show tonight, baby. And I got it number 5 right here. So before we get to the comments, Tidy, how have you been? What you been doing, man? You enjoy WrestleMania? Obviously, you did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Champion. I'm on top of the world. Cody got his way. It really was a very feel-good WrestleMania. And Raw, everything else is going on now. And the next thing you know, there's a video for AEW that I have to watch because I wasn't not going to watch it. And damn, man. It just kept my whole week full of wrestling because last week was all wrestling going into the weekend. And then Monday Night Raw, and then Tuesday, and then there's this shit going on Wednesday. I'm like, man, it just doesn't stop.
It does.
So I've been pretty damn happy.
Hey, you guys. What up, babe? What up, babe? Hey, gang. Hey.
Hey, Courtney.
What up, Court? What up, Court? Thanks, man. As always, it's much appreciated. What up, everyone? You're one of my favorites. Hey, much appreciated. But it's not just me. It's our buddy Tidy. It's our buddy Nick, and it's our buddy Albert here. So everybody's involved here. I appreciate the support as always. One of the ones that's here every week too. So I much appreciate that. Even if we took a week off and I still would cancel, you still came back. Much appreciated.
Killer Cam.
Nick, where'd you get the hat at? I'll let you go next, Nick. How the heck have you been? Did you enjoy wrestling? Where did you get the hat at, man?
Well, I had a phenomenal time at WrestleMania, Jimmy. We spent most of it with you.
Yes, we did.
It was an awesome weekend, phenomenal week. And I got this hat at the WrestleMania Superstore from a very, very, very kind fellow who stitched it for me.
While we're on the subject of where you got that hat, where'd you get that jacket, man? Nice jacket you got there.
I got this jacket when Jimmy and I took a trip to Jersey to go and see the Quick Stop from Clerks, which is a bucket list day of my life. And we went to the Secret Stash comic book store, and I spent like $260. I bought weed gummies at the Quick Stop. I ordered a pack of smokes. It was a full day. It was an awesome day. I have had a fantastic time. I am now jet lagged to the balls, which is why I'm still gloriously awake at this time of day and eating like crazy because I'm waking up at 4 o'clock, going to bed at 12 in the afternoon. It's really weird considering there's only a 5-hour time difference, but jet lag is kicking my ass. But other than that, it has been a phenomenal week for wrestling until we got to Dynamite, which we will discuss as the show unfolds.
One of the main reasons we're here. And then last but not least, as all, Albert, How the heck have you been? I know you're enjoying WrestleMania, so just know what's been up with you, man.
And we actually got to meet face to face for the first time at WrestleMania, which was an awesome experience. Things have been good. My voice is a little hoarse because I've been rehearsing a lot because I'm going to be in a play. I'm doing another one. So I'm doing another one soon. So I've just been going over my lines and stuff. Life has been absolutely crazy, but wrestling has been just as crazy. And you got to love that.
Absolute, and the craziest of the crazy in the world of wrestling is none other than the reason we're here. CM Punk. So we'll talk. I'll just touch. It broke my heart to see this happen on SmackDown. It really, really did. But I get it. I understand it. No hatred for Kevin. I'm fine with it. I get it. But man, it did break my heart to watch it happen. And as far as and we'll put this up just because it is Tidy's boy, Sheamus, returning on Monday.
Yes,
I'm glad. I hate that he missed WrestleMania. Glad that he's back, and there seems to be something they're gonna do with him. That's news, especially for this guy right here.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to be right there for you. I said he's coming back after Mania. I'm glad I was able to get that right there.
He's like R-Truth for me. He's like my boyhood hero, but I think I'm the same age. R-Truth and John Cena.
I just want to say this. For being at WrestleMania, I did a bunch of stuff during WrestleMania weekend, and I'll say this: Seth might have been the on screen, but off the screen, Truth is the MVP. That man was everywhere. It seemed like every WWE place I went, he was there doing something. I saw him so many different times. That man stays working, and he.
Props to him, then. He walking all day is no joke.
He isn't. I don't think people realize how hard he actually does work. That dude was literally where, and it was like that at the Royal Rumble. I'm at the Superstore there, and I saw him somewhere else that weekend. Like he's just nonstop putting in the work. And so there's a reason people love the man. He puts it in and he gets it back. That's how it should be. Fumbling over words. Sorry, but now we'll get to the topic of the discussion, which is none other than CM Punk. And I said I had a little list of what to break this down with, and we're gonna go ahead and start with real quick, just around the room. We all saw correct, Tidy?
What did you say?
The footage. You saw the footage from the backstage.
I saw the footage.
I know Nick did, Albert did as well. So we're all on board there.
Yes.
Okay. Did we all see the Ariel Helwani interview?
Yes.
I listened to it. So we're all up to speed on exactly what we were watching, what's surrounding it. Just wanted to make sure, because again, we have a diehard Punk fan here, a diehard Punk fan there. We have a guy who's not really a Punk all right down here. He don't dislike the man, but he's not a fan. And we have a guy over here, Tidy, who doesn't really know him that much. He's a new fan, if he's a fan at all. I'm not 100%.
I am a fan.
Okay, but he's a new fan. He knows nothing about what happened prior. He's just heard some lines. So we got some different perspective, which is what I like. So, with that said, I'm gonna start with you. Who came out of Wednesday with that footage looking better? Out of all the parties involved, who came out looking the best after that footage got aired?
CM Punk.
What up, Scott? What up?
CM Punk. They literally accomplished one thing on Wednesday. They got their own audience to cheer the opposition's babyface live on their own television show. It was the most childish, pointless, and absurd reaction. And just a little fact for you. My friend Simon informed me of something the other day. Did you know it's illegal to share British CCTV footage?
Which is why I think they've been going on writing, claiming all the things to take them off the air. Which is also why they weren't. They played it silent. They didn't play audio. They weren't talking.
No audio.
They had to play it perfectly silent to kind of stay within the realm. I don't know the whole legalities of it. I've just kind of heard pieces from other individuals, and I think that's why they played it silent, to try and protect them at the most that they possibly could. They proved
one thing on Wednesday, which is that CM Punk's an honest man, because everything he admitted to in the Ariel Helwani interview is exactly what happened in that footage. He shoved a guy, he choked him a little because he got mouthy, and then he let go. And also, Tony Khan is a fucking coward. Just throwing it out there. Fearing for your life because Jack Perry gobbed off an older dude and got put in his place physically, because that's what men do sometimes. As misogynistic as it sounds in this day and age, violence sometimes is the answer.
And we'll get to more of that here in a bit, because again, I've touched on that one, and I'm gonna love talking about that part of this.
Even Kenny Omega believes that.
That's what we're gonna get to, because that's the part I enjoy the most. And before I go to you, Tidy, Jimmy, hey, I did, but this man right here, he just kept saying Punk. You want to talk about Punk? Want to talk about Punk? Of course I want to fucking. I'm gonna talk about Punk. So that's you. So I'm still retired. But every once in a while, we're going to jump back on here to have some fun, because I'm chatting wrestling with my buddies. So we will be doing it from time to time. This is just a one-off thing for the time being. But Tidy, you saw the footage. What did you think based on what you know and what you saw?
All right, based on what I know, and based off all just the reactions I saw on Twitter, it was more like, okay, he feared for his life is like one of the biggest complaints that I got. But at the same time, I mean, that point when he turns to the side and starts yelling at Tony, it looks like he's literally aggressively going at him, like walking towards him or whatever it is. It's like, I started thinking like my old days of like getting into fights and street fights and stuff. And it's kind of if Tony would understand that if someone's going to punk you a couple of times and be like, do something about it. And I've repeatedly had brought it up, even if it's 2 or 3 times, hey, do something or I'm going to do something, you're not going to like it. When that's being said and there's been problems, and then he sees 2 people fighting and gets broken up and he comes at him, yelling at him. I mean, he's probably never seen a fight in his life. I don't know.
Definitely hasn't.
I don't know if his reaction shouldn't be. It just kind of proves that, you know, he's brittle. He's weak, you know,
very sheltered.
Very unfortunately, you know, dealing with real men fights and real men business. And I thought that I was trying to get into his frame of mind, and some people were defending him for that. And I get it. There's a lot of people that don't really like Tony. He seems like a really nice guy, though. He's just like a fanboy, you know, nice dude, maybe not the best leader anywhere, maybe.
As Punk put it in the interview, he's a really great guy.
Yeah, as Punk said,
not a boss.
which is exactly saying it for a while now. I think he's probably a wonderful human being. He seems to want to take care of the people there for him. He seems like he does all these nice and good things. I don't think anything negatively about him as a person. I just think he's a horrible leader for a wrestling company, because there's a different kind of mentality you got to have there.
He's a terrible promoter.
For me, seeing everything, I just thought that I was going through a Arwani, whatever his name is. I can't say his name.
Ariel
what he was saying in the interview, and I was like, man, that's pretty spot on from it. And then I immediately thought, wait, why is there no noise? And why did they show that? Was that a dig at Punk? Was that like proof that, hey, I told you he's an aggressive asshole? I guess that's the Bucks' perspective or someone's perspective. I'm like, but they didn't bring up any of the beef.
Hold on.
They didn't bring up the beef.
I wanted to point out one thing with the whole no. I know this is a horrible person to bring up, because a lot of people don't like him, but I was hearing on Jim Cornette's The Experience today. I just listened to the clip of what they were talking about with this, is when they were talking about the no sound. They didn't mention CM Punk's name. You didn't see his face at all. You just saw the back of him. You never saw it. And they didn't mention his name. So with those 3 things, I think their goal here was not let people see CM Punk. It was just kind of based on, y'all know who. We're not going to say it, because I think that puts it more liable, makes him more of a liability towards the law aspect of things. Yeah. So that's why I think there was no sound. Again, based on just what I've heard and what they're talking about, I'm sure they got their information from Stephen P. New. I think that's his name. An excellent lawyer who represents wrestlers across the board. So I think he would know a little bit about what he's talking about. I'm sure he did the research on it, because that's what he does. So that's the no sound part. But Albert, did you have anything else you wanted to add to this?
I just want to open up by saying one thing. and we can stoke the fire from here. You want the clippable, piece from this thing that, to clip out and, play all over the place. It's this right here. This is something nobody's mentioning. And this is what really bothers me. If anyone else got in the exact same altercation with Jack Perry, AEW fans would immediately take the side of the other person and say that he deserved it for cursing at poor Tony Schiavone, at the doctor, at the producer of the segment, and then going on the biggest pay-per-view to air the most childish grievance in the history of the world on AEW's largest night ever, he would absolutely be vilified for it. But because it was CM Punk who did it, he's being looked at as a hero.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest part to take away from all of this, because Jack Perry is going to be, his T-shirt sold out. He's being looked at on the AEW side as being some sort of patron saint, a hero.
So Jack Perry,
hold on,
real quick. So-and-so.
Where's it at? I don't know if anybody saw this. It was really fantastic, Courtney. Yes, after the video was put up, CM Punk literally was like, he put the George W. Bush up. Mission accomplished. He baited them into this. 1,000% baited them into this, and it's hilarious. And I just want to make one thing clear here. I don't hate AEW. I love AEW. I support them more than most of them give me shit about AEW. I have merchandise over here. I have merchandise I have merchandise. I go to the live shows. I love AEW. I want to be successful. This is literally just a thing with Tony Khan and the Bucks, because they've been the biggest problems since for a while, opinion. And this kind of here, it's vindication for it, because in my opinion, it just kind of shows that I'm right. Albert's been right. Nick's been right. all the other people we've had in the show talked about this shit have been right. And that's what this is about. This is not a hit piece on AEW, because again, I love AEW. I watch Dynamite every week. I watch Rampage every week. I'm an AEW fan.
So am I.
Like the Bucks and Khan. But Nick, you were about to say something.
Jack Perry is an arrogant little so-and-so who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and therefore thinks he can get away with saying anything to the biggest draw in your company's existence.
Just do something.
Now, I'm going to take another story from WWE that happened in 2008 between Booker T and Dave Bautista. They had a problem with each other. They went in a back room. They beat the snot out of each other. Booker T won. They shook hands. The next night, they were doing business, and Booker T dropped the world title to him. That is how you're supposed to handle yourself in the professional wrestling industry. You don't go online and bitch and moan and complain because CM Punk beat me up. It's like, you do not turn this into an angle to try and benefit your career. The fact is, they should have both been fired in this situation. Not just Punk. I've been saying this since day one. If you were going to fire Punk, you fire Jack Perry. He instigated the whole damn thing. But because he's one of the company's pillars, God knows why, they kept him around. Because all he's been is the dead weight around Luchasaurus's ankles for about 4 years. Luchasaurus is equal dead weight.
I want to say this. I don't want to say I like Jack Perry, because I don't at this point. I think he's a little shithead. But I was a big Jack Perry fan. Like,
so was I.
Praised them all the time. Like, literally all the time. At one point, I said he was one of the most creative wrestlers in the ring with how he moved. The way he trained moves. I thought it was brilliant. I praised them time and time again. So again, this is not anything he was great.
Just to get this out of the way. Unfortunately, we cannot blame the young fucks for showing that footage.
What up, Richard? Yes, we can. That was refuted.
It was refuted.
Fightful, the most, like the one that I trust more than any of them. Even
most trusted source, 100%.
Yes, if it's any of them, I'm going to listen to Fightful, and they said no. They were completely on that. So, no.
I heard it was Tony's idea, and they went along with it.
Hey, if they went along with it, then so be it. If they didn't want to do it, they shouldn't have had to do it, because based on what we've heard in the past, anybody that doesn't feel comfortable doing something AEW doesn't have. That's why people like going to work there, because they have more freedom to do shit. So
the thing is, just on the subject of Dynamite that was on, it was the worst Dynamite they ever produced.
It's one of them, yes, 1,000%. And that was my problem.
In the last 4 years, I've not watched a Dynamite that I got so bored. And that segment was laughable.
So
all they tried to do was heat up the FTR feud, and it failed miserably.
Do you find it to be really funny that they went from an in-ring match, right? They started with Edge and Penta, right? It was after Edge and Penta, a backstage segment there was a backstage segment, right? Then there was a video package for Daniel Bryan. Then there was this Young Bucks segment. Then after the Young Bucks segment was the FTR in-ring interview. And then there was another backstage interview. Yeah. And then they finally got to wrestling again. So the wrestling company, who's been bragging about being the big wrestling company, got everybody to watch the wrestling like that they put on in the past couple of months. I find it to be hysterical.
I have a question here. Tidy, you saw the footage. Watch Dynamite, or did you just watch the footage?
I watched the end of Dynamite from there, kind of. I did miss the FTR thing because I stepped outside.
Yeah.
I watched.
You tuned in to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. So CM Punk's the draw here, everybody. But
yeah,
from go, my whole idea behind it shouldn't show that footage was it's going to bad message to your fans that you care more about this petty bull putting on a good show. And and when you that show on the same night you do that, my God, I hate to be one of those people that I don't, but in this case I do hate to be like, man, I was right on the money with that. Because
it was a super petty night. Show. It was a super petty night. He had Will Ospreay, who should just be having banger matches to show people who he is, go out there and slag off Triple H for saying he thinks AEW wrestlers that signed are afraid of the grind.
So
why?
I'm going to defend here. If Will felt like he had a shot taken at him, I have no issue with him taking a shot back. I think it was a lame shot, but I think I'd be a hypocrite here if I was sitting there saying Will can't do that. That was childish. That was petty. When in all reality, everyone's like, Triple H wasn't talking about him. He was talking about no, the timing of it all kind of points towards Will. So even if it wasn't, it did seem like it. I have no issue with Will taking that shot.
Yeah,
I think that's fair, but it wasn't a good shot. It was the same we've heard for the past 20 years.
It was just childish.
One match in the first hour. Like that's a whole.
And I'd like to point out that match was too damn long.
Of course it was, and we knew who was going to win.
It went 40 minutes. Penta and Edge went 40 minutes through 3 advert breaks. Totally unnecessary. There wasn't a snowball's chance in hell Penta was winning because he was wearing blue, and he never wins a match when he wears blue or red. For some reason, he color codes his victories and his losses. If he wears blue or he wears red, he loses. If he wears his Joker gear, he wins.
Just to be fair, for wins anything. Honestly, I don't feel like I ever see him win.
No,
if he does win, it's just kind of matches like, okay, who cares? Like, I didn't even like Penta, and I'm saying like that's kind of like nonsense because he's really talented. Yeah. But tidy.
Can I say, Jimmy, that like, and the other complaints that I saw online were of what you fought in a business. You know, of course, you're going to get fired or something like that, and the big deal like that was such a defense for everybody. Like, no, Punk's an asshole. He's an aggressor, and he's all these things. And they tried to vilify that part right there too. Like maybe that was the Bucks angle. I don't know, but I don't agree with that bullshit because this is different. This is like basically street rules or even wrestling. If someone's gonna keep poking at you and be like, "Bitch, do something," that is a whole different ball game when your boss doesn't back you up. And then at that point, Punk's like, you know what? I'm going to whoop this guy's ass and get fired if I have to. I mean, he didn't give a shit. He was done. Like, that is – I can't knock that. And I understand in a business, like, if I'm working at a Target or somewhere, I'm working at a restaurant, and I do that shit, well, yeah, I'm probably an asshole. But if I went to my boss – but nowadays, I will never fight. I will avoid a fight with all my life.
I do want to bring up one thing. I'm gonna swing it down to Albert here because I saw him post something that was fucking like yeah. They handled it. We're like, go ahead, Albert, just go ahead because this was handled better than that was, and it was more accepted than it was where you did it. So
just for a little context, there's a Twitter user by the name of Brian R. Solomon. He posted something along the lines of, this isn't a CBS, it's the pro wrestling business. People are going to get a little angry. People are going to get a little confrontational. Things are going to get a little heated. This is going to happen. And I posted that at 18 years old, I got into a very similar physical altercation than as to what happened at Brawling, I guess, if you want to, we'll call it that now, because I think that's a better name for it.
I agree.
It was me and a friend of mine. He pushed me. I thought he wasn't joking around. I got a little heated. I pushed him back a little harder than I thought he expected. He got a little heated after that. We pushed each other one more time and got broken up. Immediately, my boss told us both, get the hell out of the store right now. We were escorted out by 2 other people separately. The next day, we were called in. We were sat down. We were told to shake hands. We were told that if this ever happened again, we would immediately be terminated, and there would be nothing else to say about it. This is unacceptable behavior, and if it happens anymore, you guys are gone.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that could have happened in AEW after Hangman took that first little shot and went off script in a promo. And then even if it didn't happen then, after Punk took that unnecessary shot on Dynamite at Hangman, when Hangman wasn't there, sit those guys down, the Elite, and anybody else, and say, okay, you guys got issues? Sit down, talk about this, let's go. This is Tony Khan not being a boss. And that's
also the problem is the Elite are being a bunch of whiny, threatened bitches. With the exception of Kenny Omega, they were clearly all threatened by Punk.
As a boss, they don't have any. Of course, they have to listen to their boss, and their boss should be like, "You want to be a little petty little bitch? Do it all you want, but you're gonna sit in this room or you don't have a job."
I've had the same problem in work. I've worked in kitchens for 18 years. I've had people throw knives at me in a kitchen. I've come to blows with people in a kitchen. It just happens in a heated environment. Your boss or head chef takes you to one side, kicks you out, says, "Have a smoke, chill out, sort it out between yourselves, then come back in."
So
you don't just.
What was I about to say? So just to bring up, because I saw another person after the thing came out said like, "Oh, well, Punk was clearly wrong there because what was he supposed to do in that moment?" And it's me, because literally reading that within 5 seconds, I feel like I came up with the most logical answer to that. And hey, Jack, you need to get your ass back to the hotel. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Let's keep going. Let's get on with the show. And there, the problem is, Punk said, do something about this. You did something about it. So then if Punk continues to do after that, you're free of any kind of blame.
Guilt.
Yeah. Literally done to do what you could do in the moment. And then now we can shift the blame on Punk because he's an asshole, even though I've done something when he asked me to. When he should have done something, much like he should have done something when Punk called out Adam Page, or when he should have when Adam Page called out or went off script on Punk, or at the brawl out when Punk was fucking just dropping nuclear bombs on the company and all sorts of things. Like, it's crazy that multiple times he had the chance to step up and be the boss and nip it in the butt, and each time he's decided not to because he wants to be friends with everybody. And that's what Punk meant when he said he's a great friend, he's not a good boss. That's what it is.
Well, Brawl Out is the perfect example. When Punk went nuclear in the press conference, as soon as Punk finished speaking, Tony Khan should have excused himself, brought out the next guest, and then gone and handled Punk backstage.
Here's Chris Jericho.
Talk to him. Yeah, straight out, go talk to Punk, see if you can resolve this situation before it gets too heated. But he didn't. And then he let his EVPs kick CM Punk's door in and effectively start a fight. And
which we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit as well. We're gonna move forward a little bit. Okay. We're at the 30-minute mark. We're gonna move to the newest asshole story thing that's going on here, and Kenny Omega's comments on his stream, which I feel again. Oh, my goodness, thank God. Thank you for speaking up, Kenny. Because I have now effectively changed my chart of who's to blame here. And I think Kenny is the most responsible human being in the world of professional wrestling.
I completely agree.
Because he is best friend of the Young Bucks. and he essentially completely under the bus us.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good with Punk. We have a mutual respect for each other. I would have liked to have things in a way that could have been done, but there were other factors involved that prevented it. Well, the other factors involved are Tony Khan, Young Bucks, or Hangman Adam Page. It's somewhere in there. I'm going to take Hangman out of that because I think he was the problem at the beginning, and then after he was nothing.
Right.
Tony Khan and Bucks here are looking really, really bad for the footage, and now after Omega has said, yeah, Punk, I think every once in a while we need to fight, and afterwards. I think that's how things need to happen sometimes. So
yeah.
Albert, I'll go back to you on this one again. What did you think about? Because I sent it to you and Nick immediately. I was like, "Am I hearing this right?
Yeah.
Is my brain playing tricks on me, or is this right?" So, what did you think when you saw the clip?
So my immediate reaction to that was, okay, Kenny Omega has more sense than anybody in AEW. He knows what he's talking about, and he gets what the industry has always been. Look, we bring up, Inigo Montoya, a great callback to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho got into a physical altercation with Goldberg. They got into a fight.
And Brock Lesnar.
Well, he got in Brock Lesnar's face after the whole Randy Orton thing. But he got into a fight with Bill Goldberg backstage. And you know what happened after that? Did business together. They worked together. That's the thing. Like, all the times that we hear about that there have been backstage incidents, usually the boss comes in and handles them. How about the British Bulldogs and the Rougeau brothers, where Dynamite keeps poking at Ray and Jacques this entire time, and Jacques just hits him in the jaw with a roll full of quarters. Vince calls them all into the office and says, "This happens again, you're all fired." That's it. Nobody. It's over. Whatever happens in the past, this happens again, you're all fired. Move on.
It's considered to be archaic by modern fans, but that's why we had Wrestlers Code. Because if there were problems with the boys handled it. Because it doesn't just affect you, it affects the whole locker room.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned that the locker room, because
Taker's Court,
people are going to sit there and say that there are a bunch of older veterans in that locker room. But guess what? They're on cushy, guaranteed contracts where they don't have to get in the middle of this stuff, because why would you?
Yeah.
Why would I waste my time?
I think it was interesting that during that whole thing, literally everyone was just kind of like going about their business, like, yeah, this ain't shit. This ain't nothing. Yeah. And then as soon as it kind of like got a little, he put him in the headlock. That's when Joe and Lynn decided to step in, and then everyone else was still kind of, okay, this is just kind of like, Samoa Joe afterwards.
Did you see Chris Hero's face?
Yeah, he was like, fuck. But
Samoa, that was his reaction.
He says that was nothing. Like, I've seen way worse than that. So it was, and nobody wanted to listen to that for whatever reason. That's wild to me. Like, Samoa Joe, always Punk's friend. He must be just kind of this. Now we've seen it. It's, oh my goodness,
it's a shove in a headlock, man. I mean, people. No one had. I mean, did noses or bones get broken? Was gouging of eyes? Was there biting? Was there Mike Tyson? No.
As Punk said, he shoved him and he choked him a little. I've done far worse to my friends over the years when we've got into altercations. I've done far worse to people in work and not been fired for it. This is the ridiculous thing.
Me and my son were shoving each other like that earlier today.
There you go.
And it was fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's freaking stupid. But on the Kenny Omega subject, one, hands off to Kenny for being able to play Street Fighter 6 at that level while talking. I think we all need to identify this, for one.
Nice.
But two, Kenny has admitted he's a violent bloke, because most men are violent blokes of a certain age, because we were raised to defend ourselves if anything happened. And we were also taught at a young age, if someone keeps poking you and poking you and poking you,
Punk's about to choke you, bro. Watch out,
my boy.
Was that
if someone keeps poking the bear? If someone keeps poking the bear, you punch the guy poking the bear.
There it is.
I want to say something. So
go ahead.
As a person, I've been into many fights in my life, like too many that I can't even remember all of them, to be honest. There's something about your adrenaline that kicks in. And I don't think people understand that. Some people fight out of fear Fear is part of the adrenaline of protecting yourself. I personally have been in enough to where the last couple fights I've been in, I actually felt bad. Like I really hurt somebody. Even family members. Like it's been bad in my life. So I'm at the point in my life where violence is the last resort. Like for me, period. I will not do that. I don't have that mentality. Like I'm going to go caveman someone's head in. I am complete opposite of that. I'll stay away from a fight the best I can unless my family members or someone I love is in danger in any kind of way. Then I'll protect them and let my adrenaline take over. It's not a great feeling if you've been in many fights. So the fact that CM Punk felt where his buttons were pushed just enough, or like would I be in that position where I probably did the same thing and I'm perfectly like that? I might have. I honestly might have. And then I would do the minimum. I would put his ass in a chokehold instead of beating his face to death. Because you can choke him out and
you
stop
have to look. You have to add all this into account. So again, so we've all agreed here that Punk now looks like the most credible person in this whole story, based on what he said, what we've seen, and how things played out. So if we're to believe him, because again, he's been played out to be the most credible this whole thing at this point. He had his button pushed with the Adam Page thing. He went to Tony Khan and said, "Hey, you need to handle this." And Tony Khan said, "What do you want me to do?" So that's strike one. Then you have the brawl out, which is strike two. This is strike three. You're out. Like that's it. And when you got someone pair up, what are you gonna do about it, bitch? I'm not a violent person at all. I'm probably doing the same. I might not be as successful as he was, but I'm at least like, no, man, this is done. Like this is over with. So,
mate, I'd have done more than shove him and choke him. I'd have elbowed him in his face.
So again, like
that, maybe that's just because I'm British and we do things differently over here. But if Jack Perry got in my face and said, "Do something about it, bitch," while he flicked his hair back, you damn right I'd have done something about it.
That's cold words, man. You're going for a forearm elbow.
Thank you.
Yeah, damn straight.
So the egos right here. When you have everyone with all these egos, they're all fighting for a spot. They all want that number one spot. They're all trying to get that. And then like that's another thing that comes into play with this whole testosterone-filled locker room is that there's egos here. You check someone with an ego and the testosterone is at an all-time high, shit's gonna come to blows.
Yep.
I don't think you need to have ever been in a fight to understand that. I think you just have to know how the real world operates. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then you're the basement dwellers, and I don't care what you say. Like, and that I don't want to say that's a fact, but it's as close to a fact as it's going to get.
I'll say it's a fact, Jim.
Look, onto the subject of Brawl Out and the Young Bucks, while we're floating around there. Look, after Brawl Out, I actually understand a little bit better the Young Bucks' perspective a little bit more. Because if Punk wanted to leave, why would you sit down with him at that point? Keep your distance, interact when necessary. If Punk wanted out after Brawl Out, I'd be pissed if I were them. But ultimately, it does come down to Tony Khan. And that's the big problem. The thing is that if the Bucks are going to sit there, if Tony Khan's like, "Hey, look, sit down with Punk." If I'm the Bucks, I'm going to sit there and go, "No, I don't want to." But if Tony Khan's a boss, he's going to sit there and go, "Well, I don't care what you do or don't want to do. You're going to come and you're going to sit down and you're going to talk to him." And that's the big difference. Right. Because I get their perspective. If Punk said, "I want to go," if I'm the Young Bucks, I'm like, "Tony, you wanted to bring this in. Your failed project has imploded. Let him go." And Tony's going to sit there and go, "No, I'm going to give him his own show. I'm going to put all you guys over here. I'm going to put all his guys over there. You'll have minimal interaction. You'll just see each other at pay-per-views and keep your distance." It's a bad idea.
Oh, who said bad idea?
What's that?
Who said it was a bad idea?
Punk did.
So, and I don't know if you caught this in the interview, but it was very interesting to me when Ariel Helwani asked, hey, so when you got injured, how did the injury happen? Did it happen in the match? And he said, "I can't talk about it." Why couldn't he talk unless it happened elsewhere? So,
which means
Punk got injured during that brawl by the EVPs of the company, and then they didn't pay for it nor reach out to him during the entire time. what kind of monster do you think you've created? like serious. It was the same thing that happened with when he got injured with the broken foot. They didn't pay for it. They didn't reach out, and what kind of monster? You saw what kind of monster you created last time. You're gonna do it again?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
You're asking for trouble.
That's basically a lot of egos right there. I mean, like, stick it to him. I mean, like, why wouldn't they just find a way to fire him then, or just let him go? You know, at that point. But like,
asked go. This isn't gonna work. Just let me go.
If he wanted to leave, just let him go. But Tony had his pet project in mind and went, "No, I'm going to succeed."
Okay.
And the thing is this: we're talking about and this has been swept under the rug too. This has something to do with it, but it doesn't at the same time. Everybody paints Tony Khan as being this patron saint of being like the greatest person in the world, but we've seen that this has been a pattern of him getting upset and shooting off at the mouth sometimes, and then it coming back to bite him in the ass. And I mean, obviously, the big swole incident is one of them.
But I'll tell you now, there's no such thing as a billionaire that is a saint.
Oh, of course not.
Especially when it's daddy's money. Tony Khan, pardon my language, Jim, is a cunt. All right? I'm sorry. The difference between him and Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon is an upfront cunt. Everybody knew how much of a dick Vince was. Yes, he's turned out to be a lecherous old bastard, and I hope he goes to jail for the things that he did. But all the way through his career, Vince was an arse, but we all knew he was an arse. Tony is an arse who pretends to be a nice guy.
I'm going to disagree here, and I'll tell you why. I don't think Tony is an asshole. I think he's a kid who's been sheltered. He doesn't know how a lot of the real world works. He's desperately seeking for the approval of these wrestlers that are on his roster, and he realizes that every once in a while, like, he's got to step up, and he kind of just gimmicks himself. Like when he cut the promo on Nick Khan, that wasn't Tony. That was Tony, but it wasn't Tony. He was gimmicking himself TK. Up. He goes, I'm part of the boys. I gotta pop off at the mouth. And I think those are the moments where this guy's an asshole. I don't think he's an asshole. I think he's just an idiot. Like, that's literally it. I don't think you have other than just an idiot.
You have to be a pretty big idiot to fire 10 people and then the next day talk about how you spent almost a full year's salary for a wrestler on a theme song for one of your guys for Ring of Honor. Hey, look, I get that's a big deal, but if Vince McMahon ever said that, the internet would have burned him at the stake. Tony Khan says it, and it goes right past the news cycle. That's where the AEW fan base are all.
What I mean. What I mean by he's a cunt. He's only good at one thing: analytics.
No, he's not. He hired people
only
to do those.
No, he has an actual analytics company. It's his only company that he started himself. That it didn't pay for with his father's money. It's quite successful.
Okay.
That's what he started in business doing was analytics. So that's what he's good at.
Okay. I didn't know this.
No, I checked. He can't book to save his life. He doesn't know how to write a wrestling storyline. He wrote one good one that was written predominantly by the talent, and it wasn't even that good. I mean, the best storyline they've ever done in his company was CM Punk versus MJF.
Yes,
and that was all CM Punk and MJF.
Yeah. I want to say I don't know Tony Khan, but what I've seen of him and what's transpired and of what I've been able to see is that I think he's just a nice rich kid. Honestly, he's just a privileged rich kid who does not understand the outside world and how people behave, or may not have the best idea how to run a wrestling company.
Yes.
That is very different than any other company.
And he's trying
in this
to
world.
fit in.
And he's trying to fit in.
Yes.
I don't think he's a bad dude, man. And like anybody,
he wants to be one of the boys.
He may say some dumb shit every now and then. I just don't think he's a bad dude. I mean, I honestly hope he gets his shit together because it seems like it needs real leadership in there. And I hope he's learned from just this incident alone, because there's a lot of people, and like, it's not about egos and the Young Bucks and all this other shit that I hear. It's like you're letting your wrestlers keep their job and keep an income, and that's so very fucking important for a leader to understand. So when there's issues, you need to step up, etc. I'm just hoping he can look back and be like, if I did this, if I did that. So it's good for everybody else, man. There's people to support.
Okay, so at the end of the show, instead of asking the question of the week like we did on the podcast, I don't know if you'd be able to answer it tidy, but you can if you want. But we'll get to that afterwards. I want to go ahead and stop there, and I want to rewind a lot. I want to go back to WWE rule. Well, no, let's go back to when CM Punk first came into AEW and touch on this for a few minutes. Does anybody? Do you guys remember Albert specifically here? Do you remember when CM Punk showed up? The discourse from the anti-Punk and anti-AEW fan that went on.
Yeah.
What was it?
What, when Punk debuted and what everybody
the main thing that they were the anti-Punk and the anti-AEW people were trying to say. What is it to say about Punk?
He's washed, he's on a draw, he doesn't care, he's just there to collect a paycheck.
Nick,
if my memory serves, the argument was he was cancer in WWE. He's going to be a cancer in AEW.
Bingo. Okay. Yeah. Got it. So I'm going to move on from there. Cancer. So before he even gets started, you have people putting this into the universe. Wait till CM Punk blows up. Wait, he ruins this thing. Just give it a, and it's going to happen. And what that effectively puts something in everyone's brain that it doesn't matter what happens. If Punk is involved, Punk is at fault. And it don't matter if we have video evidence. We know he's a cancer. He's the problem. So now I want to rewind even further now. I'm going to ask you guys some questions here.
Okay.
What did Punk do in WWE that made him a cancer?
Apparently,
I'll let you give me things one at a time. But
do you want to start, Albert?
No, Nick, good.
Okay. Apparently, he tried to be a locker room leader because that's such a bad thing.
Okay.
He nearly died from a staph infection, which forced him to leave said company, and he stood up to the Undertaker when the Undertaker told him to wear a suit.
Okay. So I want to focus. The Undertaker one, that's a silly one. Undertaker, he's old school, blah 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 blah. Who cares? Undertaker, you're great on screen, behind the screen. I mean, I don't. Whatever. I'm not with that era of locker room. So the locker room leader thing. Everyone wants to give CM Punk shit for being a locker room leader. One, I don't see how that makes cancer. Two, when he came back to WWE, one of the things he said stood out was, "This is the kind of line that I've always wanted." So if he wanted to be a locker room leader and incorporate the kind of locker room we have today in WWE, which is magnificent it's magnificent from everything we've heard about it. Why would that be a bad thing?
Well, this is the stupid thing. Even Drew said in his promo, "We finally got the type of locker room you wanted, and you had nothing to do with it."
So, but that's what Punk. That's exactly what Punk wanted. So there you go. There's the first myth gone. That doesn't make him a cancer. Albert, what else we got here?
You know, the other big gripe about Punk was once he started to slip down the card, he became a little bit unbearable to work with. The idea that he had to drop the main event of WrestleMania, drop the belt to The Rock. He wasn't happy about that. Complained about that a lot. Okay. A lot of it had to do with his booking. When he left initially, he was going to leave before the pipe bomb. The whole thing was, I don't want to stay here. You've pushed me down the card. You've made me irrelevant. I don't want to be here anymore. Every time I do anything, either my legs got cut out from underneath me, or I don't get the promise that I was supposed to be given at the end. So the big complaint was, if Punk doesn't get his way, he's going to be a pain in the ass to work with.
Okay, so first question there. Do you believe that every time he started to catch momentum there for a long time, they'd cut him off at the knees?
There was a lot of instances where, it looked like it happened.
World title twice without ever getting pinned.
Yes, that's right.
So myth busted. That doesn't make him a cancer. That's a gripe he's supposed to have. But the top guy thing. Essentially, he wanted to be the top. What have we heard? Everybody in every single sport since the beginning of time. If you don't want to be the top guy, get out of here. we all know that there's certain people who have their spots on the card. That's where they're going to peak. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the mentality should still be there that I want to be that high. If Kofi Kingston didn't have that mentality, he'd been stuck at the mid card forever, and we wouldn't have got Kofi Mania. Like, he went about it a different way. I knew that at all, but the same mentality as this. He wanted to be a guy, and he wasn't afraid to speak. Which I'll get to that right after this. But being the top guy doesn't make you a cancer, does it?
No.
If that's the case, everybody in this is a cancer.
I was going to say, I'm going to use the comparison of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was an unbearable, arrogant little shit, in his own words. No one ever called him a cancer. No matter how many times he faked an injury, lost his smile, kicked off, coerced, politicked, did whatever he could to keep his position at the top of the card, nobody called him a cancer. But apparently, because CM Punk stood up for himself and opened his mouth, that makes him a cancer.
Okay, so the Shawn Michaels thing is brilliant there because he faked an injury. We later found out that Punk had an injury killed him. And they were perfectly fine when it go. So again, I feel like that's a reasonable gripe for him to be upset. Like, he was supposed to have a 3-month off for surgery, and then Vince called him the next week and said, "Hey, we need you back."
Yeah.
Like, and the part-timer thing. As a top guy, should you be to every single part-timer you face?
No. Hell no.
Punk lost to Triple H. He lost to the Rock, to the Undertaker. He lost to Brock Lesnar. Is there any more?
He got screwed by Kevin Nash.
And if he would have fought Kevin Nash like the original plan was, who do you think was going to win that match?
Kevin Nash.
I'm like, do you think, Albert, or are we being crazy?
No,
that's Triple H's guy.
It's true.
Yeah. So again, I feel when you look at all these things that made this angry person and this cancer, everything was legitimate as far as I'm concerned. I don't think I'm being crazy here. I don't think I'm being a fanboy. No.
The funny thing is that, Nick, you just brought up Shawn Michaels. The legitimate comparison is actually Bret Hart, because Bret, is being called a grumpy old man, but everything he's bitter about, he is very well should be bitter about it. When it comes to Punk, most of the stuff that he's bitter about, it's a pretty good reason why he's bitter about it. Yeah. And I don't think it's bitter when it's the truth.
Well, that is what everyone needs to take away from this. As I said before, all they've done is prove that CM Punk is an honest man. As he said on TV, tell me when I'm telling lies.
So, Tidy, you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say it depends on the angles. Like there's certain perspectives. Because I've heard the same thing, that he could be difficult. I mean, that's kind of what Seth and Drew are complaining about, is like, when you were a so-called leader, you weren't there for me, and you actually kind of threw me under the bus. That was the whole promo, So I think, anyways, that's the work to get us going. I get that, but if someone can articulate reasons why in a conversation of, I don't want to lose to like 12 part-timers, I think that's just more of a Vince thing. Vince just not giving him that, because the first thing that Triple H was saying, the interviews over WrestleMania and the week leading to were amazing. I lived and breathed it. Yeah. But the way CM Punk talked was like, he came back and how they've utilized him. And he didn't say he exactly wanted to be a locker room leader. If you look at everything, he's in the back talking to everybody, giving advice to everybody. And what did he say in that interview? He's like, I have this head, all this knowledge in here. And he kind of just wants to impart it and give it to it and make the business better in general and help people out. It's just like he was never given that for so many years, because everybody started putting it in the air that he's a cancer.
And he was doing that in AEW.
If you can articulate your brain, and like Triple H said, get it to what's the ending of this story, and you can make an ending, and of course he could. He clearly is intelligent. It's just they weren't giving him that time, and that's frustrating.
Here's a story about Punk that was on Dax's cast when he had it before he had cancels. Not allowed to talk about AEW in a bad way, like he was. When Punk arrived, he literally showed up for the girls' locker room with $500 gift cards to Starbucks for each and every single one of them. Yeah, them to get them to let them know, like, hey, this is let you know, like, I'm thankful to be here. I'm happy that you guys are accepting. If there's anything I can do for you, there's anything to talk to me about, come see me because he helped. When he was in W, everyone's like he never wanted to put over young talent. That's such a bunch of bullshit because when he went after John Laurinaitis on TV, who did he stand up for? The guy that just got fired, Chris Masters. And everyone wants Chris Masters back on TV now. They're like, well, it'd be cool to see Chris Masters again. Well, Punk stood up for that man back then. Why is he bad guy? When Nexus was kind of like going down, Punk stepped in and do to help him.
I'll do him.
Like he wants to help these people, and for whatever reason, because want to deal with bullshit elsewhere. We're past that. I'm not going to get into it anymore. It's crazy to me. But again, because of that just little thing that was put in people's head, he's a cancer. He's going to be a problem. You just wait. It just gave people a reason to paint. And when shit went sideways, and it's
ridiculous because all he's ever done is help people. You go back to TNA when he was with Lexus Lurie, which is Mickey James. He brought Mickey James into wrestling because he knew that she was having a hard time getting into the business. So he said, "Be my valet." Be my valet. You'll get picked up from there. People start to notice you. You can do a few things in the ring. And he helped her out. He helped AJ Styles when he got to TNA by going, yeah, beat me. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, go ahead, Heidi. Go ahead.
I was just going to paint the contrast because after dealing with this bullshit for a lot of his life, he comes back to WWE. And then they were talking about, hey, you can just call Triple H. You don't care if it's 1 a.m. And you have an angle to your story that the locker room was talking about how more free they felt.
Yeah.
How more it's more of a positive working environment versus them being told this is your year-long story. That's just where you're at, and that's what you're going to do. If you have an idea,
what was that year-long story about 50 times along the way?
Yeah, you can just call them. So I mean, that is like the perfect environment for him, and I'm honestly just happy for him. So it comes into a way better environment.
If I can just interject, I watched a program with him and Randy Orton on the other week where they were watching back their WrestleMania match.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was awesomely fun to watch. Because they're friends, and you can tell they're friends. And we found out that the first person to reach out to CM Punk the day he found out he got fired was Randy Orton. And Randy Orton said, "You've got to come home. You have to come home. We all want you back." All right? And this is a guy who was in the locker room when CM Punk was supposed to be the cancer.
And I just want to bring up one real quick thing from that as well. They had a WrestleMania program together, and it resulted in a really awesome match. How did it start? They had backstage beef that they turned into business.
That's right.
That is what you are supposed to do in professional wrestling.
With that said, I just want to point again, we've agreement there that CM Punk, to what we know, to what we've been presented with, has been telling the truth in this whole scenario.
Yep.
But to the best of our knowledge, he's the most credible here. I don't know about y'all, but in my life, I've dealt with people who they always want someone who's real, honest, and authentic. Until they run into someone who's real, honest, and authentic, because they don't line up with what they want to believe. And then that person is an asshole. And that's exactly what I've always thought CM Punk was, why I've always just gravitated towards him. Like, that's the kind of person that I feel like more people need to be like. Is he an asshole? Yeah, but he's an asshole when he has to be. He stands up for himself. He tells the truth. You want to hear it or not. And that like me, that's the kind of guy I want. I don't know about y'all.
Well,
Makes a great wrestler, I'll tell you that.
I was always raised to be honest with everybody, don't bullshit people, and stand up for myself. They're like tenets of life. And yet the man who has followed those tenets to the T is the criminal in this situation. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, I'm sorry, but if we go back to the Jack Perry thing, most men who are an athlete, who are a trained cage fighter,
football, UFC, wrestling,
football, all the stuff that he's done, if they get somebody come up in their face after multiple times of talking to this person about a problem they have with them, and it's still not getting handled by their boss, what did Jack Perry think was going to happen?
Jack Perry's an idiot.
He's just used to dealing with glad-handing yes men. Because of his rich daddy, and that's why Tony likes him, because they both have rich daddies. Or Jack did have a rich daddy anyway. Sorry to hear that. But in Christian's words, his dad's dead.
Ouch.
I hate Luke Perry.
Oh
anyway.
my good, Christian does such good work though, bro.
Oh, he's amazing. But what did Jack Perry expect? Even my brother is the biggest detractor of arseholes in wrestling in the world. If he disagrees with somebody, he will go on for weeks about how bad this person is. And even my brother has agreed that CM Punk has just been proven to be an honest human being. He's an arse, but he's honest about it. It doesn't matter if someone's a bit of a twat if they're honest about it. And he's been honest about every single thing that's ever happened to him. And people just don't like honesty. They'd rather be bullshitted and glad-handed and said yes to than hear the actual truth coming out of somebody's mouth.
So here we go. Jack Perry's embracing this, which I give him credit for. He should to an extent. I think he's overkilling it. 1000% he's overkilling it. But I mean, he should lean into an extent because he's got eyes on him. This is where the most famous talk about him. This is where he should be doing something to catch the attention. He's just leaning into it way too far. I'll say this again. I think Jack Perry's pretty awesome in the ring. I think he'd be great in a cruiserweight division. And NXT, I think he'd be phenomenal. Like I don't hate him as a wrestler. I think he's really good. He's fun to watch. His match versus Kenny Omega was beautiful. It was one of my first matches I watched with Kenny Omega AEW where I was like, okay, I like this. So I don't think he sucks or anything. I just think he's a little shithead.
No. But I will not take away a man's ability. Like we all hate Logan Paul, but we can't take away how good Logan has become in the year that he's been.
Swing on you, Nick.
Not me. I'm really loving this Logan Paul. I mean, I don't know who he is as a person, but man, like I said, if he's leaning into this character and he knows he's doing it brilliantly.
But the point is, Logan's a prick in real life, but he's an honest prick.
I love it.
Yeah,
he's an honest prick.
So
no one calls Logan Paul a cancer.
Okay. Well, some people do. That's so true. Ronda Rousey is.
But some people do.
But
Ronda Rousey.
let's go to the question of the week. Even though it's not a question of the week, it's my question of the week. And again, Tidy, if you can answer, awesome. If you can't, I get it. Right? That's just how this one went. But with all of this is happening, and again, I thought Aid's a nice little trajectory there for a little bit, and then they kind of just cut the legs out from under them. It's funny how that worked. We were just talking about that, and they just seem to have done it to themselves right there. We're all in agreement here that Tony Khan should not be running the day-to-day operations of the booking of AEW. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
According to what I've seen, yes.
Okay. So I don't want him to be he can still be the president and all the other stuff he does. But
he needs to be Jack Tunney.
He should just Ring of Honor. That's what I think. And if anybody doesn't want to get in line with the person he brings in, go to Ring of Honor and play with Tony. I think this is the easiest way to handle this. But there's a man out there who is respected by the wrestlers and does a really good job. Why hasn't Tony Khan reached out to Scott D'Amore?
Thank you.
And run AEW for?
Yeah.
Or at least Ring of Honor. Like it baffles me that this is not something that's happened yet. Or come in and help at the very least.
A large problem with AEW, and yet again, I have to reiterate, I freaking love AEW. The more places there are for wrestlers to work, the better it is for the business as a whole. Doesn't matter what anybody says. I don't like Tony. I like the company.
The talent is amazing. I love the talent.
It's one of the most stacked rosters in the history of stacked rosters. Yeah. But Scott D'Amore has been on the market for what, 4 months?
At least 3.
Since he got released by TNA. Every single wrestler that has worked under Scott D'Amore in his entire run in TNA, his entire run with Ring of Honor, love him. They think he is a phenomenal booker, a phenomenal boss, and a great promoter. 3 things.
He's not afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
I like that he's not afraid to take chances.
Tony Khan is not. Tony Khan is not a booker, he's not a promoter, and he's not a boss. He's a fanboy who likes to play with his toy box. That is what Tony Khan is. He buys action figures, Jimmy. You'll understand this, Albert. When you buy an action figure, it's your favorite action figure for a certain amount of time, and you play with that action figure a lot. Right? You get it as well, Jim.
Yes.
But then, in about 3 months, you find your next grail. And that becomes your favorite action figure. And the other one goes back on the shelf. Well, Tony does this with real
certain ones
freaking
that
people.
cost a little bit more, so you got to make sure you get your money's worth out of them.
Yeah.
See,
And Tony does this with real people.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's funny that you bring that up because when I was a kid, I would have my wrestling figure organization, right? And I would book my own shows. And the biggest thing ever was when you got a new figure, because that was a new person in your figure, in your
New
organization.
roster.
And then that guy comes in and he like cleans house for a couple of weeks until he gets settled into the roster, and then he's just another figure on the shelf. He's just another guy on the roster, and that's what AEW has been like. It's let's turn on the heat when we bring somebody in, and then let's pump the brakes on them when. Oh my God,
that's amazing, Jim. You should have him in a truck, though.
I'll work on it.
But my thing
newest toy. That's my newest toy. Sorry, I had to show it off.
That's sick.
But that's my thing. Like, that's what AEW has been doing. They've been booking like, a kid crisscross applesauce on his friggin' living room floor was surrounded by his action figures. And you know what? That's really cool because you're playing with your own action figures, which means you're booking for an audience of one, which means your audience is going to unanimously love everything you do. But in the real world, that's not the case. And you have egos and you have different personalities and all this stuff. And when you have this guy on the free agent market like Scott D'Amore, why do you not reach out to try to at least just say, hey, look, come in and sit with me and talk me through some of this stuff. Show me some stuff. Because I don't know a real booker that Tony Khan has sat down with. You can sit there and say they've had a lot of people in the locker room. They've had Jake Roberts. They've had Arn Anderson. They've had Tully Blanchard. But none of those guys are bookers.
Right. Yeah, do you know who he has got, Albert? Rocky Romero.
That's a good one.
Rocky Romero
has been
booking New Japan for Gato for the better part of 7 years.
That's a great point.
Do you know why? I don't even care if people hate what I'm about to say. I don't give a shit because it's absolute truth. He's in bed with Rocky Romero so that he can take all the fucking top talent and then send John Moxley over there to be the IWGP champion. And then guess what? AEW is literally reaping all the benefits here. This is the most Vince McMahon thing that Tony Khan. He doesn't play well with others. I don't care that he does play with others.
Sorry, did Moxley beat Naito?
Yes, he did.
I haven't watched the show yet. You see, that's
taken Osprey. First, he took Boiler, Kenny, and the Bucks and all them. Then he took Osprey. He's taken Jay White. He's taken Okada. Who else is he taking?
Mercedes.
Juice Robinson.
So he's taken literally the top talent, and now
all the top guys in.
Now he's put one top talent at the fucking forefront of him. In my mind that they sit there and be like, this is so no. This is horrible for New Japan. It's absolutely horrible for New Japan for the simple fact that they've basically just got cleaned out by Tony Khan. And here's the thing. If Vince McMahon had done this exact same thing,
I was just going there.
He would be the biggest villain on the planet.
I was just going there because, in all honesty, it is the coolest thing. It's really cool to see people from different organizations hopping around and winning titles all over the place. But when the benefits all seem to just lay into the laps of AEW, what is it doing to enhance the entire business as a whole? And when Vince would do things like this, Vince would be vilified. When Tony Khan does things like this, he's
monopolizing
of everything.
Well, here's the flip side is that if the AEW hardcore, they're like, no, that's great. That's the one thing that they will say.
Yeah,
they will, because
here's a large problem with the AEW fan base.
Tough.
They're all hypocrites.
The diehard ones.
The diehards. They're all hypocrites.
Absolutely.
No, because they all say they love wrestling and they want everybody to succeed. So why are you so narrow-minded about what wrestling is supposed to be? Because they all are. They all think wrestling fits in this tiny little lane. And if it doesn't fit in this tiny little lane, it's not their wrestling, and therefore it's bad.
It's bad.
Right? When realistically, wrestling can be goofy. Wrestling can be spooky. Wrestling can be hard-hitting. It can be violent. It can be fun. It can be utterly ridiculous. It can be everything under one umbrella because it's the greatest bloke soap ever written.
And to further kind of prove my point here, can you guys name all of the New Japan talent that has partaken in any kind of wrestling on AEW and tell me which ones have had victories on AEW television?
Jay White.
Before they were with AEW too. That's a big thing here. Which ones actually won?
Jay White, Forbidden Door. Okada. Yes, Okada won at the first Forbidden. No, did Okada fight at the first Forbidden Door? He was in triple threat with Jay White.
He was in the 4-way. So no, he didn't win.
Yeah, Jay White won that match.
Okay.
Jay White won that match, not Okada.
Didn't Okada match prior to that though?
I think so.
I don't know, but
I'm pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure Will Ospreay did.
He beat
Will Ospreay did. Beat Kenny.
All the other Ishii, Suzuki, all the other ones. Kenta. What were they doing?
Losing.
Kenny Omega, when he had the Impact title, he didn't put nobody over. And again, I hate to say this about Kenny because I like Kenny now, but he didn't put nobody over. They put it on Christian.
Didn't put anybody over.
On
they put it on Christian.
And then it had him drop it to the Impact.
Yep.
It should have been Josh Alexander that beat Kenny Omega.
Exactly.
We can all agree with that.
And the batted an eye at the fact that Josh Alexander beat Kenny Omega. They'd be like, yeah, well, Josh Alexander's really awesome, so that makes sense. Like, yeah. So that's always been my biggest gripe with Tony as far as his booking goes. That's what it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous in the sense that he's stripped New Japan of everything, treats that talent kind of like Vince treated WCW when the invasions.
Yep. And you have somebody like Rossi Agawa who was sitting there, who was running Stardom, who didn't want to see his talent suffer the same fate. So he started to get into negotiations with WWE, and then all of a sudden you see Tony Khan's vitriol come out. Bye, Rossi. Oh, here he goes, leaving this promotion, right? Because he was the hard ass to deal with because he saw what you were doing everywhere else, stealing people's talent, putting your talent over all of them, and then if you put them over, they were going to come to you and you were going to pay them.
Here's the crazy thing.
Question, Nick, real quick. Did you watch Collision last night?
No.
Do you know what?
No, I haven't got a clue.
Tony Storm beat someone from over there.
Did she beat Maya Watami?
She beat her. Oh, wait,
taking?
Hold on. I don't know which one it was. I don't know because I don't watch.
Was it the girl that came in and saved Mariah May the other week?
No, it's the one that came and cut out a promo with Anna Jay on Rampage, I think it was.
Maya Watami.
It wasn't the one that came out with Tony Storm or with Mariah.
No, that's Maya Watami that she's beaten. Maya Watami, the former 3-time Stardom champion.
No, it was AZM, she said.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Doesn't matter to me. Like, you get one, you finally start them over here to be part of your show. What happens immediately? And what's the one you keep saying? Sorry, I don't know any of these. Watami?
Mayu Atami.
Mayu Watami. Do you think she's beating anybody in AEW?
No.
These
she's going to get sacrificed. There is only one.
It's very cool to see these people show up. I thank Tony Khan that I got to see Juventud Guerrero versus Chris Jericho. As much as everyone else hated it, I don't give a shit. I got live. I thought that was cool. I really appreciate it. I just wish there was some 50-50 here to kind of go ahead and to go with Tony's supposed to be this really awesome matchmaker and Booker of the Year. Well, let's play fair here and make that make sense instead of just being another Vince McMahon during the invasion angle, which was shit.
Well, you know what's over at Wrestling Legion? We like to make things make sense, Jim. And I will make things make sense by using this as a perfect example. Hook is one of the top prospects in that company. Yeah. As far as potential for the future goes. Yet, because of everything that he's been booked with lately, he's going to look at other options when his contract comes up.
It's head scratching what they're doing with him.
Well, it makes no sense whatsoever. And this is all pointing back to the fact that Tony Khan doesn't know his arse from his elbow when it comes to booking wrestling. Everyone goes on about the Hangman Page storyline being this genius of modern wrestling. Most of it was done on Being the Elite, an internet YouTube show that like only 5% of your audience watched. So half of the information wasn't given in the first place.
So put it on the TV show if it meant that much.
In the meanwhile, you look over at WWE, I'm going to bring it up, they had the Bloodline angle going on at the same time. Probably the best bit of long-term storytelling in the last 5 to 8 years of wrestling television. Hands down. Hands down.
Ever.
I handed it over the NWO at this point. And if you know me, you know how big of a deal that is. The Bloodline is literally the best thing.
I don't care.
That's what Sam Roberts, not Sam, said the same thing. Like it's just
it is hands down the best bit of booking I've ever seen from WWE.
There's only one thing that comes close to it. It's Austin McMahon. That's it. It's nothing.
Look at that as more of a feud instead of a, because there was no like really continuation. It was just like, I'm gonna whoop your, I'm gonna screw you,
and that had a piss poor ending.
Yeah. So
whereas this,
we thought the Bloodline was over, and they're like, nah, son.
We're just changing gears. We're moving into different teammates. We're moving into different members of the family. Like, I don't want to get too much into it because but the fact is, that's how you book a long-term story. Punk understands how you book a long-term story in wrestling
because he's done it.
He's done it on numerous
occasions. MJF is the best in AEW history.
Yeah, MJF versus CM Punk, best match they ever put on.
You know what would have been better?
Kenny Omega versus CM Punk.
Go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. But to see the utter fallout from a company that I loved when it first started, because I thought, this is new, this is fresh, this is somewhere for the boys to work, this is somewhere for the girls to work, where they're going to get more money, they're going to get more opportunity, they're going to be able to build a career to one day go to WWE, which is, by the way, exactly what Will Ospreay is doing. He made a financial decision to go to AEW, give it 5 years when his contract's up and he's sick of all of the bullshit. He'll go work for Triple H.
We'll see. I'm not sold on it at this point. We'll see.
Okay. But anyway, I've had my run.
Okay. So that's the show. I really enjoyed having you guys together for this. This was fun. Again, it doesn't take me to pull my arm when it's a topic that I want to talk about, and I will always want to talk about something. So
always.
So with that said, we will now say our goodbyes. As always, first up, let them know what it is. Give them something to go home with, to think about.
You said me?
Yeah, you.
Sorry, there's been a bit of an echo all night on you every here and then, so it's throwing me off.
Yeah, your voice keeps repeating, Jim.
It's an echo you got going. Anyways, real quick, hold on. I'm not hearing it. It must be just through the microphone. I'm sorry, whatever. But
just did it then.
It's not going through the YouTube thing though. That's all I'm worried about.
All right, then
it might be me. Anyways, I don't have much to say, but I'm enjoying wrestling. I'm glad CM Punk's in a very healthy place now. All the wrestlers talking about how healthy it is right now. It's some of the funnest that I've had this last year, and I can't wait to see what else is going on. I hope Tony learns from some mistakes, get somebody else to help him. That's all I really got to say.
Well, dang, there is an echo. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not hearing it, so my bad. I appreciate you guys sticking through anyway. Nick, let them know what's up, man.
Ladies and gents, if you can stand the sound of my voice any further, you can find me on the Wrestling Legion YouTube channel. We do weekly podcasts. Today, I did our second episode of Take Over the Table, a watch along where we are rewatching the best and worst matches from the history of Black and Gold NXT on the Takeover, specifically with the Captain and Matty Laws. And you can find me. Albert, are you prepared?
I'm getting there.
You have 4 days, my friend.
I know. I'm getting there.
Because you will find myself and Albert on the Wrestling Legion YouTube channel on the 18th at 10 p.m. UK time for the next episode of Wrestling with Your Thoughts Fantasy Booking Warfare, where Albert will be taking on Matty Laws, booking at New Blood Rising, WrestleMania 4, and CyberSlam 98 for a shot at the King's World Heavyweight Championship.
All right, real question. Do you hear it now? Is there echo now?
No.
Now you're good.
No. Okay, so it was the microphone. I just need to change the microphone. Dang, I wish I would have known that earlier.
It wasn't too
you have a
bad.
shot at the king, but it's gonna go down like everyone else, and you're gonna miss. It's a brick. LeBron James, bounce, brick, bye. You do the bottom of the list. But Albert, let them know what it is and what they've been missing out on.
Well, if you have known me, you know that I'm doing the slam sessions, and I got a brand new episode up just a couple of days ago. I got a brand new big one coming up in another couple of weeks. Guys, I got 2 brand new rings. I don't know where I'm putting all my stuff. It's kind of nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. I got the big WCW Nitro ring, and I got one of the,
have that. That was cool.
It's the coolest thing in the entire world. I got to put together. It's nuts. I'll send you a pic, Nick, of what the setup looks like. It's insane. That video's going to go up in a couple of weeks. So yeah, keep watching.
I hate you, bro. I just got my NWO one that I had to make. That's all I had.
Well, Jimmy,
it's still pretty cool.
My sister has just bought me the Attitude Era ring. She found it on eBay, messaged me the other day and goes, "Do you want these?" It's like, yes, I want these.
What kind of stupid question is that? So yeah, that's the show. I thank everybody for watching. I don't really have anything to plug anymore, so go watch their stuff. That's the stuff I watch. So if you want to watch what I'm watching, you want to know the stuff that I'm into, that's what it is. That's Mr. Matt Cardona of the podcast, and that's the guy that makes it make sense with our good buddy Cy and Andy, who was part of the last podcast. So if you like what they do, head on over there to, here it is. I forgot to put it up earlier, but it's Wrestling Legion. Y'all know where to go. Go check that out.
Down here.
And eventually, yeah, there you go. It's under his face.
Right there.
His little gorgeous face.
Right there.
And eventually I will be joining the Takeover the Table thing because it's NXT Takeover.
Yes, you will.
And it's literally my favorite era of wrestling, black and gold.
Well, we're doing London next, Jim, if you want to join.
I'm waiting for the New Orleans one. That's my favorite of all time. I'm waiting for that one. But if I'm ever available, I will let you know and I'll just jump in because, again,
awesome.
My favorite era of wrestling. So, yeah, definitely check those out and just put the notifications on for here because eventually we will be doing things maybe after pay-per-views or something like that just because, again, these are the boys that I like to talk wrestling with. So, and I'll do I will bring on some of the old guests as well because I do like talking to them as well. Got to get Beast Mode on here. He was really wanting to join us again before we canceled. So we got to get Beast Mode back on for one.
Yeah,
so
do it.
Off that, and if you're on the Twitter or the X, check out the podcast one. That'll keep you up to date as well. With that said, as always, here we go. Just enjoy wrestling, as she put right there. You got to do it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you like it, watch it. Just enjoy that wrestling. That's what you need to do. So with that said, thank you all once again for watching and goodbye. See you next time. Toodles.